Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to this episode of Star Watch, which is a weekly astrological transit report. If you are new here, my name is Jane. So we have a very exciting week ahead of us, and actually the next few weeks as we finish out August, we've got a lot of movement going on, and it really starts with this Venus-Sun conjunction that's going on the 13th. So let's take a look here at what all is going on. I'm going to reiterate, and I know I've said this a few times already, so I apologize for repeating all the time, but I think it's so important to understand the nature of the sun being in Leo right now. The sun is traditionally described as being the significator of the spirit, the ambitions of the soul. So when it comes into Leo, which is its only sign of rulership, there's a lot of power, and your voice has such a strong influence. And this is one of the reasons why Leo is so connected with self-expression, because it's like this pureness, this authenticness that just comes out. And it's easier to access that part of us, that more authentic and true and aligned with spirit place. And Venus here being in Leo and doing her retrograde thing is really asking us to review the things that we truly value. Now, this conjunction, Sun-Venus retrograde conjunction, is in a square with Uranus, okay, and it's going to also be in a trine with Chiron. Now, the vibes that this is giving me, if I can just give you a visual, envision a super workaholic, makes tons of money, works all the time, goes for it, has all the toys, all the fast cars, all the the women or whatever, all the fast lifestyle. And then we kind of come to this astrological environment and we say, like, what is it all for? Is this really what I want? Is this what my soul is wanting? And a lot of people have done a lot of work on themselves, especially if you're here watching weekly astrology videos. Probably you've done a lot of work, a lot of healing, and a lot of growth. So I'm not saying that your life is going to be as superficial as that example, but I think we all have things in our life where we've just been on autopilot and we've just been doing it for the sake of doing it, or maybe it pays the bills, or maybe it does one thing for us, or whatever the case is. And this is that time where we really sit back and say, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really how I want to spend my time, my life? Am I with the right people? Am I doing the right types of things for money? And what changes do I need to make? And I think it's going to be a soft week, where we're really soft with ourselves and we offer ourselves a lot of grace and a lot of understanding and flexibility. This is not a time to be locking yourself into anything right now. Now, obviously, if you have already things lined up, contracts, that type of thing, I'm not suggesting don't sign anything, but I think it's more about your own personal ambitions. This is probably just going to be one of those times where you start to digest the possibility that something else could be for you. A different kind of life could be for you. And while you may not really see how all of those pieces of the puzzle are going to fall in place together, I think that's not the point. The point is just to cast a wish and not worry about anything else. I think too often we hit these moments and we say, yeah, it would be really nice if we could have this, but it'd be really nice to go there. It'd be really nice to have this. It'd be nice to be there. And, but and we have all these reasons why not. And a lot of those reasons are fear-based, financially based. Maybe we've got children we got to think about. I'm not saying they're not valid and that we can completely shirk all of our responsibilities to go chase butterflies, the butterflies of our hearts. I'm not saying we can do that, but I think opening ourselves up and receiving the messages from our soul right now is going to be beneficial. And over the months to come, that pathway is going to start to emerge. And let's talk a little bit about what's going on here, because Uranus is building up to a retrograde as well, same as Mercury. And even Jupiter will start building into a retrograde in the next couple of weeks. Technically, Jupiter and Uranus are in conjunction, Okay, they were 8 degrees apart. Now, as Jupiter retrogrades, they're going to separate a little bit more, so it's not going to be as tight, and then they'll come back together in the beginning of 2024. But for now, technically, Uranus is under the influence of Jupiter, and Jupiter makes things big and magnified and amplified. So we're starting to feel that desire for a big change in our lives. And it can be financially based, because it is in Taurus, but I think more so this is about changing the way we approach challenges. And why am I saying that? Because Taurus is so intrinsically connected with our sense of self-worth. And for many of us, not all of us, not everyone has self-worth problems to work on, okay? But if you do have self-worth issues, this is one of those moments where you kind of say to yourself, like, I wish I didn't have to deal with this inner dialogue all the time. And I wish I didn't have to, be fighting this war inside of myself in order to go do this thing. Because I have this direction in my heart, but I'm hitting up against this wall. I'm hitting up against this row of swords. I'm going to think of the 8 of Swords card in my mind, hitting up against this row of swords, and I'm having a hard time getting through because I have this self-worth stuff. Well, this Jupiter-Uranus is like, let's just throw all the cards up in the air and let's just see what happens. Let's take a risk. Let's take a gamble. And Jupiter can bring a lot of confidence, and I think Uranus can bring a lot of confidence as well. This to me does not scream stupidity. It doesn't, okay? It doesn't tell me that the risks that you're wanting to take are a bad idea. That's not the vibes it's giving. All right, I don't see caution here. I see like green lights, go ahead. Don't let your self-worth, or your self-confidence issues, don't let those things get in the way. And it's one thing I know to just say it. Oh, don't let it. One thing to just say that and another to do it. But this is one of those moments where I think you want to do it. You want to go after and pursue those dreams without the self-worth and self-confidence issues. And this is kind of what you're manifesting right now. And it's going to align with some type of thing, something that you hold really close to your heart. Okay? And because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so that really ropes in the Jupiter-Uranus thing, big time. And because she's in a trine, now remember, trines are positive. And this Sun-Venus conjunction is happening at the 20th degree, which is really a tight trine with Chiron here at 19. So the trine is positive, meaning there's a beautiful flow. And because Chiron is one of those entities that brings out a lot of pain and wounding, the positive flow here is good because it's healing. It heals a lot of those identity issues. Because if you're on some type of track and you're sitting there and saying, this just isn't me, this isn't who I want to be, it's not how I see the rest of my life going. If you're in a situation like that, this is one of those moments where you do feel like the possibilities can actually be possible. They're not just possibilities, phantom potentials out there, in some kind of metaphysical universe. They're real, they're tangible, and that there's something that you can go do. Now, keep in mind, it is about you going and doing it, because Venus also ties in Libra, and with the South Node here in Libra, there can be a lot of dependence on partnerships and working with other people. And if you do have other people who are dependent on you, there can be a lot of leaning on that. But really remember, the goal here is to use those types of relationships. And when I say use, I don't mean that in a negative way, like you're taking advantage of people, but this is what makes us strong, right? Relationships and people that love us and people that we are even contractually obligated to. Sometimes that can be a good thing because it can light a fire under your butt and get you to go do something, right? So we get to leverage these types of relationships, but ultimately, boom, that North Node in Aries says, but this is really all about you. And it's about your identity and who you want to be. And that's a big, 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 I don't know what mantra, it's not a mantra, but like a big theme of the North Node in Aries is, who do you want to be? And chances are this Sun-Venus conjunction is going to align with that question perfectly. Who do you want to be? Okay, I don't know how much this Venus-Sun thing is going to be about what it is you want to have. We have enough of that going on with Jupiter in Taurus, and there is a connection. I'm not going to completely take out the having, what it is you want to have. But I think the having is going to become more of a product of the being, the way it normally is, right? So this is a question of who do you want to be so you can have those things. And if you're looking for more fulfillment in your life, if you're looking for more peace or more serenity or more abundance in your life, there are going to be some changes that are needed. Now, some of you are already quite abundant, but it doesn't mean there's not a desire for some type of change, because regardless of where you are in life, regardless of what you have and your marital status and all those types of things, regardless of any of it, Uranus demands revolution. So, and Jupiter is going to demand that even harder. So something has to be ringing true for you. Something has to be stirring up inside of you. And if this is just like a creative thing, like you want to just start learning to do something new, then great. By all means, go do it. If it's not a huge life-changing decision, like changing new jobs or something like that, then consider yourself to be one of the very, very lucky ones that has a happy and a good life, and all you got to kind of think about is how you want to spend your time. But I think there's going to be changes in terms of how you spend your time. Okay? Now we have this Mercury-Mars thing going on as well. All right. We're also building up to a new moon in Leo, which is happening on the 16th. That new moon in Leo is going to be at 23 degrees. So just, it's just a few days after the conjunction. But Venus, Sun, Moon will all be really, really close here. And I think that's going to be a beautiful, soft new moon. If you are someone who does new moon ceremonies, this is going to be a beautiful one to do that. I think it's going to feel kind of like the universe has caught you. and maybe with all the questions that we're asking, we need that little bit of security and just the feeling of security, like it's going to be okay. I don't think this is a scary time for most people. It's not one of those times where you're looking at your future and you're freaking out. This is a time where you can have trust in this direction. You can have trust in this process and trust in this flow. And flow is an important word because we do have all this activation in Virgo, plus Mercury is in pre-shadow. Now, I want you to keep in mind, okay, that Mercury is by far the strongest planet in the chart for several weeks, even when it goes into its retrograde. Okay, it's a very, very strong planet right now. It's in rulership. It's even stronger than the Sun, who is also in rulership. So Mercury is really kind of running the show here. There is movement with this placement. Virgo is highly movement oriented. This is a mutable sign. This is not about keeping things static. And when the Sun comes in, and we'll talk more about this next week, but when the Sun comes into Virgo, it's going to be even that much more so movement oriented. So this is the time of transition right here. So you don't have to lock in. In fact, I don't think you should. I think I said that already, but I don't think you should lock in. I don't think you should kind of try to set anything in stone right now. There will be times for that later on. This is just one of those soft moments to listen to your heart and let the chaos of the world rearrange itself around you. And in Virgo, it will. And with a Mercury retrograde in Virgo, it will. This Mercury retrograde in Virgo is going to be a little bit more logistics oriented. There's communication and stuff there too, but Virgo is much about the system. You can think of manufacturing, like a manufacturing plant with the big conveyor belts, and you have robots or machines or people, putting things in bags or assembling things, it kind of goes down that assembly line. That's Virgo, that efficiency, that organization, that process, the actual doing of things. And so please expect a little bit of a system shutdown here with this Mercury. Okay, because the system shutdown can be very disruptive. I mean, don't be surprised like if your schedule gets all messed up, and don't be surprised if someone cancels or anything like that. That's going to be probably for the best. And oops, sorry, my UPS guy just showed up. It's going to probably be for the best, because this is what happens when the universe is rearranging things. It often interrupts everything we have going on. We can't ask for change and ask for something to blossom in our lives and then expect everything to continue running the way it always has been. Okay, so the inconveniences, the little really annoying things that we all we really don't like to deal with, that's the universe shaking things up because of what you're requesting right now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And as Mercury gets closer and closer, and we'll talk more about this when we actually get there, but as Mercury gets closer to that 21st degree, we can see it's coming into that opposition with Neptune as well. And Neptune can make things really weird, and it just sort of, we can't always trust what we can see. And I don't think we should trust what we can see in terms of our manifestations, in terms of this is it, this is all we've got, we can't get out of where we are. It's just we can't lock ourselves in like that. It's gonna be even hard to really trust ourselves. But it's also going to be hard to see a way out as well. This is one of those moments. This is very much a hanged man moment in time. Very much a hanged man. Our hands are tied in a lot of things. So that's why the focus is just letting your heart speak. That's all you need to be worried about this week. And when an inconvenience does occur, or when a rescheduling thing happens, or when kind of a child has a little bit of a breakdown and kind of messes up the whole day, please do not think of those things as... Don't think of them as though they're ruining stuff. Think of them as though they are interrupting the norm, so that your life is not so rigid that it cannot receive what it needs to receive in order to implement these changes. Chances are this is going to be really subtle stuff in the weeks to come. Usually Virgo is about making small tweaks and small adjustments. But those little small things can make a world of difference over the course of a long period of time. So it's not about the big leaps right now necessarily. It's about manageable, small, little steps. Because that's really all we will be able to really understand with Neptune influence. Mars is also going to be coming into that opposition with Neptune this week as well, as it creeps in. Kind of hits that 19, 20, 21 degree mark. We're going to start to feel that. So Neptune is very much at play as well. If any of you guys know me, I don't like Neptune. Neptune is one of my least favorites. He's been opposite of my Sun and my Mercury for many, many years now. Too many. Too many years, and I am over Neptune, so I personally am not looking too forward to that. But it's not going to be, obviously a regular transit's a lot different than a natal transit, so it'll be a lot faster, but it is just kind of one of those weird times where things are not so clear, and your mind is not going to be so clear. It's not going to be as linear as it normally is. And because this Mercury is in rulership, I think that makes it that much more intense. All right? All right. I'm going to leave you guys with that. You guys know I love you. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.